Good afternoon, students. So, I guess we have completed the second experiment also. Yes, which was comparison of the two EMFs. Okay, comparison of two EMFs using the potentiometer. We have already completed this. So, we are going on to the third experiment now. Okay, so this was the final result. Okay, this was the final result for the experiment two. Experiment one was to know the or to calculate the EMF of unknown cell. Okay, it was to calculate or to determine the EMF of unknown cell. Okay, and the second is to to compare the two EMFs. Okay, comparison of the two EMFs using the potentiometer. Fine. Now the third one is measurement of internal resistance. Measurement of internal resistance. Okay, measurement of internal resistance of a cell by potentiometer. So how you can actually determine the internal resistance of the cell. Okay, like yesterday I gave you a cell. Okay, suppose, and you can tell me what is the EMF of it. Okay, you can tell me yes, it is 2 volt, it is 4 volt, it is 5 volt. Like that you can tell. If I give you two cells now, okay, if I give you two cells now, and I I am asking you just to compare these two cells and tell me that which one is having a higher potential, which one is having a higher EMF. Okay. So what you will do using the second experiment, okay, concepts of the second experiment, what you can do, you can determine which one is having a higher EMF. Okay, which one is having the higher EMF. So like that you can do that. And how much higher, that also you can calculate. Okay, twice, thrice, four times, in fraction, anything you can find out. Okay, in that how much times actually it is greater, one cell is greater than the another cell. Now for that given cell, suppose I have given you the cell, you can determine its EMF. Okay, you can also determine its internal resistance. Understood? You can also determine what is the internal resistance of the bat cell. Okay, so that you can do with this third experiment over here. So let us see how we will do that. Okay, so before that, just see the setup. Okay, so in front of you I have drawn the setup. Okay, setup of the experiment. Okay, so just to clearly see this setup. So if you see, is still the main part, is still the main part. Okay, still the main part is the same, it has not changed. Okay, still the main part is same, it has not changed. This one, this portion is same, it has not changed. Okay, what about the second part? You have seen in the first experiment, in the first experiment you were not having this branch, you were not having this branch. Okay, you were not having this one, you were not having this one. Okay, in the second, in the first you were not having the second, this one. But in the second experiment, you were having here a cell which you had to compare. Okay, now just see the circuit. Okay, so I'll explain you the circuit here. Okay, I'll explain you the circuit here. So what is happening here? You'll just connect normal connection up to here. I guess everybody would have understood up to here. Okay, if I suppose disconnect this. So this first part of the circuit, everybody understands. Okay, now the second part, what you have done, you have just connected a. Okay, you have just connected a, this end. Yeah, you have just connected a with a cell. Okay, with a cell, this is its internal resistance, its jockey, and its jockey cell. Now after this you are also connecting a shunt, you are also connecting a shunt. Okay, you are connecting a shunt parallel to the resistor. Okay, internal resistor of the battery. So with the EMF you have to shunt one thing. Okay, so if I remove this, if I remove this, okay, so I guess you will be much comfortable. Okay, if I remove this, then you can see how it looks like. If I remove this, you can see how it looks like. Okay, so this is the thing, it is same as the first experiment, it is same as the first experiment. But for this experiment, what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to introduce one shunt, we are supposed to introduce one shunt here. Understood? We are supposed to introduce one shunt over here. Fine. Now, so what we will do, we'll just start the analysis of this. We will just start the analysis of this now. So I guess this setup, I hope this setup is clear to everyone. Okay. Now I am going to start the analysis of this. Okay. So first, what you have to do, first of all, what you have to do, you have to disconnect this. This S must be open only. Okay. This S must be, the switch S must be open. So I'm writing that if S is open, if S is open, okay, if S is open, what will happen? The current will not flow in MNOP. Okay, so current, so what I can say, current is not present. Okay, current is not present in loop MNOP. Correct? There is no current in MNOP now. Fine. But there will be a current in AMNC. There will be a current there. Okay. And you will get a balancing length. Okay. It will be typical experiment number 1. If I remove this, actually this should not be there. Okay. So if it is not there, so it is typical experiment 1. Okay. So using that, what I can say, the balancing point, okay, the null point of potentiometer. Okay. So what I can say, null point of potentiometer, null point of potentiometer. Okay, will be what? I will balance this E as lambda L1. Okay, let us assume this is my first equation or the first result. Okay, in from the experiment, this I have taken. Okay, now what you have to do now, you have to connect the cell, this shunt. You have to now connect this shunt. Okay, so when you connect this shunt, then you just check what will happen. Just try to think that if you connect the shunt like this, okay, will this balancing length be same? If I connect the shunt, okay, and there is a connection established, okay, that means S is closed now. Okay, now S is closed. If S is closed, now if S is closed, okay, if S is closed, then there will be a current in the loop. Okay, so what I can draw is like this. Okay, I can draw it like this. So this is MNPOR. This is external resistance. Capital R is the external resistance. Shunt. This small r is the internal resistance, and E is the EMF. Okay. So now what will happen? The current will flow. Okay. The current will flow now. And how is this current actually going to flow? In this direction. Okay. In this direction, the current will flow now. In that loop. This is the way the current is flowing now. Now, because you have connected a resistance, so there will be a potential drop. Okay, there will be a potential drop across Mn. Now, if there is a potential drop, okay, so I can write E2 value. I can write E2, sorry, not E2, E only I will write. E value as lambda L2. Why lambda L2 I have written? Why lambda L2 I have written? Because just try to understand that here, because you are connecting a resistance now, so the balancing length in the first case, what was the case? When I have removed this, okay. So when I remove it, so in this situation, what is the balancing length? Lambda L1. So E will be written as lambda L1. Now when you connect it, okay, when I connect it now like this. And when you connect it like that, so then the balancing length will definitely change. Okay, because you have connected a resistor. External resistor R is connected, so it will get down. Okay, so it is lambda L2 now. Is it clear now? So after this, if I want to write down the KVL equation, okay, writing the KVL equation there. So just see what I can write here using KVL, or if I wanted to write the current value, okay, current flowing in MNOP. Okay, so I'm trying to write current in MNOP. So I value I will be writing as, you just check, E divided by R plus capital R. Correct? This is my third equation. Okay. I have got the value of E. Okay. So just remember, don't substitute this point. Don't substitute here with this. Okay. Okay. You don't have to do that actually. So what you are going to do now, you're just going to equate this relation with this relation, 2 and 3. Okay. We are going to substitute the values and rearrange equation 2 and equation 3 now. Okay, so just check how I'm going to write it. So can I write E as, okay, can I write here from equation 3, can I write E as I into R plus R? Okay, can I write I as E as I into R plus R? Okay, understood? Now from here, from this, okay, E. E also I know it is lambda into L2. Okay. Now just equate them. Okay. Equate them. So what you will be having? I into R plus capital R is equals to E is equals to lambda into L2. Understood? Do you understand this now? Okay. So sorry. Here actually I have made a mistake. Okay. I want to eliminate I. I should eliminate I. I should have E value. Okay. I should have E value in terms of lambda and L. Okay. I should have E value in terms of lambda and L. So I have made a little mistake here, and I should not do like this. Okay. So just see here. I'll just remove this thing. Okay. Now up to here, I hope everybody has understood. This is the current value I have written. Okay, I is equals to E by R plus capital R. Okay, so this is internal resistance. This is external resistance. That the shunt. Capital E is the EMF. Capital E is the EMF. Fine. Now, if you see this, so can I write? Just check here. Can I write EMF this lambda L2 as? Can I write lambda L2 by R is equals to E1 by R plus R? Okay, fine. Because you can write this, okay, like that. So I'm taking this R on this side. So lambda L2 will be is equals to E1 into R divided by R plus capital R. Okay, R plus capital R. So now I'm having, okay, now I'm having this value of E2. This is E2, suppose. This is actually E2. Okay, when you have connected. Okay, so the EMF will not be same, it will be dropped. Okay, so this will be E2 I'm taking. Okay, this is E2, so this is E2. Okay, it is like that. Now just I'll now take the ratio of lambda L1 by lambda L2. Okay, so lambda L1 by lambda L2 ratio I will be taking. Okay, so lambda L1, what we are having, lambda L1 is E1, lambda L2 is E1 into R divided by small r plus capital R, and this I can write as E1 into R plus capital R divided by E1 into R. Okay, so this is what you can write. So now if you see, I can cancel this lambda and lambda, E1 and E1. So L1 by L2 becomes R plus capital R divided by R. And when you solve this, okay, so when you solve this, so the internal resistance value becomes L1 minus L2 divided by L2 into R. Okay, you just solve this, you'll get this value. Okay, you just solve this, you'll get this value. Okay, so this is how we do. So I'll just summarize it. So when you, first thing what you have to do is you don't have to close the switch. First thing, you have to open the switch and take the balancing, a null point in the galvanometer. Okay, so when you take that reading, so that even, okay, that EMF will be, suppose E1 is equals to lambda L1. Okay, now when you are connecting this shunt, okay, when you are connecting the shunt, so now what will happen, this E value will be different. Okay, that E value will be different now. And then E2 value we can write as lambda into L2. Fine. Then you can write lambda into L2. Okay. Now E2 is equals to, okay, E2 is equals to, okay, E2 is equals to, which is, I can say as, this is the EMF. Okay, this is the EMF. I can write it as I into R. Okay, I have written this as I into R. Okay, I is the current and R is the resistance. Okay, the potential drop across point P and O, the potential drop across point P and O. So this is the way I have written. Okay, now what I have done, I have equated this one. Okay, so from here I have tried to write it as, from this, okay, lambda L2 is equals to I into R. Okay, so I value I have written as lambda L2 by R. Understood? This is what I have done. So this value, instead of I have calculated I, and instead of I have substituted this lambda L2 by R. I have substituted this lambda L2 by R. Okay, here. Now lambda L2 by R is equals to E1 by R1 plus R plus R. Okay, the small r is the internal resistance, capital R is the external resistance. Now when you rearrange everything and take the ratio of lambda L1 by lambda L2, then you will finally get this value. So R is now, okay, so this R, okay, this internal resistance R I can write as L1 minus L2 divided by L2, okay, into capital R. Okay, so this is the value of internal resistance. Okay, so there are numericals asked, okay, on this third experiment also. So all the three experiments are equally important. Okay, all the three experiments are equally important. You cannot say that this one, any one experiment is important and the other one is not. Okay, all the three experiments are equally important. You may have a question from any one of these. Okay, so you have to go through all the three experiments. Okay, and now we are going to solve the numerical on this. Okay, now we are going to solve few numericals on this. Okay, so let us see this first numerical. Okay, yesterday also combining all the three experiments, we are going to solve this. Okay, we'll see the question, we'll identify the case, it will, whether we have to find out the unknown potential, or we have to compare the EMF, or we have to calculate the internal resistance. Okay, we'll be doing like that. So first we'll identify the case and then we will be solving the numerical. So this question says, a 200 centimeter potentiometer, okay, a 200 centimeter potentiometer wire AB. So what they have given to me is the length of AB, okay, the length of AB they have provided me, and which is equal to 200 centimeter. Find the potential gradient. They're asking me the potential gradient of this potentiometer. Okay. Also determine the balancing length for a cell of 3 volt. Okay. So we have to calculate two things here. One is potential gradient, which is lambda. Okay. And then we have to find out the balancing length, that is L. Okay. So let us start this thing. So this, if you read this, so it is about the experiment 1. So if you see this, so you have to use experiment 1 concepts. Okay, that is to determine the unknown EMF, to determine the value of unknown EMF. So here unknown EMF is given to you. 3 volt is given to you. You have to find out the length now. So this is a reverse process now. So now let us solve it. So first what we have to do, we have to open this. Okay, we have to open this from here. First, if you remember, so we have to open this. So first, this is, there is no connection, and then you will calculate the current value. Then you will calculate the current value. So current value will be 20 divided by 5 plus what is the potentiometer wire resistance? It is 15 ohms. It is 15 ohms. Okay. So RP value is 15. RP is 15 ohms now. Okay. So 20 divided by 5 plus 15, this becomes 1 ampere. So 1 ampere is the current that is flowing now. Okay. And this calculation, when you will do, when you are supposed to do this calculation, when 3 volt or when the lower circuit is not connected, when lower circuit is not connected. Okay, this is when we have done that. Okay, current. See, I'm not applying into direct formula. Okay, so I will not recommend you also to do that. So step by step, if you do 3 to 4 questions, what will happen? The experiment as well as the basic procedure, basic step will go into your mind. Okay, so then you will be able to do everything in your mind. Okay, but first 5 to 10 questions you should do properly. Okay, like you are analyzing everything. Fine. Now then what you have to do, we have to connect this. Okay, then when we find out, okay, still we can calculate the potential gradients here. So potential drop across VAB, potential drop across VAB, what we will write, it will be current flowing through VAB and resistance through VAB. So the current is 1 ampere and the resistance is 15. So 15 volt is the potential drop. Now potential drop per unit length, that is potential gradient. One question they are asking. So potential gradient they are asking. Okay, potential gradient they are asking. So it will be VAB divided by length will be lambda. Okay, now they are asking me to calculate that. So 15 divided by what is the length of the wire? 200 centimeter. Okay, so this is 200 centimeter. So better we write it as 2 meters. 2 meters. So this becomes 7.5. Okay, volt per meter. So this is one answer. Okay, this is one answer. This is one answer. Okay, 7.5 volt per meter is one answer. Okay, now what they're asking us, they're asking us determine the balancing length also. Okay, for balancing length, what I can do, balancing length. Okay, here itself I am solving balancing length. Okay, so 3 will be equal to lambda into L1. So L1 will be now 3 divided by lambda. Okay, this will give you the answer in meter. Lambda value is 7.5. Okay, lambda value will be in 7.5. Okay, so it will be 15 by 2, so it will be 6 by 15. Okay, So it will be 6 by 15. So it will be 2 by 5. Okay. This will be in meters. This will be in meters. Okay. So I guess all of you have understood this problem. Okay. Let us do the second problem now. Okay. Let us do the second problem. Now the second problem is, in a potentiometer, a uniform potential gradient of 0.8 volt per meter is maintained across its 10-meter wire. So you have a wire of 10 meter, potentiometer wire is of 10 meter, and you are maintaining 0.8 volt per meter. The potential difference across 2 points, okay, the potential difference across 2 points on the wire located at, okay, so it is given as 0 meter 65 centimeter. Okay, so when it is given it like that, so it means actually 0.65 meter, and this means 2.45 meters. Okay, it is given like that. Wire length also is given to me, and potential gradient is also given to me. So what we have to find out, potential difference between 2 points. Okay, solution. Now just see here, this is second experiment. If you see, okay, this is the second experiment, or you can compare the two EMFs. It is kind of that, because two EMFs are in here. So here lambda value is given to me as 0.8 volt per meter. Okay, L1 is given as 0.65 meter, and L2 is given to me as 2.45 meters. Okay, now we know that if we want to find out the potential, okay, we want to find out the potential of the first point. Okay, so how we can do that? We can do it by lambda into L1. Okay, so it will become 0.8 into 0.65. Okay, and V2 will become lambda into L2. So it will be now 0.8 into 2.45. Okay, so these are in volts. These are in volts. So these are the potentials of these points. Okay, these are the potentials of these points. Now they're asking me the potential difference. If you see here, they're asking us potential difference. They're asking us potential difference. Fine. So how we are going to calculate the potential difference now? Potential difference. Okay. So potential difference delta V. Okay, potential difference. I'm going to write it as V1 minus V2 or V2 minus V1. V2 minus V1, V1, right? Okay, because it is always greater than greater minus smaller, because you are calculating difference, and difference is always written as a positive sign. Okay, so this is how you will calculate. So V2 you can calculate, V1 you can calculate. So 0.8 will be common, and you can subtract 2.45 minus 0.65. Okay, and you can get the value. So I'm not solving it, you can just solve it. Okay, it's simple calculation you have to do. Okay, so this is the solution for the second question. So here actually you were given the question based on the second experiment. Okay, where you had two cells, you can assume. Okay, you had two cells, and using that two cells you were getting two different null points. Okay, you were getting two different null points. So that was at 0.65 meters and one was at 2.45 meters. Okay, so this was the question, and then you are calculating the potential difference between the 2 points. Fine. So this is the third question. Okay, from the figure itself it is very clear. It is based on the comparison of the two EMFs. It is based on the comparison of the two EMFs. Okay, so just see this question, and what it is saying, that value of E1 they have given me. Okay, value of E1 they have given me as 2.1 volt. Value of E2 they have not given me. Okay, and that value only we have to calculate. Okay, E2 value only we have to calculate, if you can see here. Balancing length observed is 40 centimeter and 56 centimeter respectively. So assuming lambda to be the potential gradient, okay? Assuming lambda to be potential gradient, okay? Then what I can write E1 as, which is 2.1 volt. I can write it as lambda into L1, which is 40 centimeter. Okay. Then I can write E2 as E is equals to lambda into 50. Now I'll just take the ratio. So I'll write it as E by 2.1 is equals to 56 by 40. So when you cancel it, so it will become 7. Okay, if I cancel by 8, so it will become 7 by 5. So this implies E will become 7 into 2.1 by 5. So this is what you will be getting, the value of E. Okay, you just solve it now. Okay, you just solve it now, you will get the value. Okay, so this will become somewhere around 14.7. Okay, 14.7 divided by 5. So you will be having your answer less than 3. Okay, less than 3. Okay, so somewhere around 2.9 you should get. So somewhere around 2.9 you should get. 2.9 something you should get. Okay, just calculate one more decimal place and then we can state our answer. So this will be the answer. Okay, fine. I hope you are understanding this numerical. Okay, let us see this numerical. This is based on the internal resistance. If you see this, the internal resistance of the cell is. So we have to find out the internal resistance of the cell. So this is based on the third kind of experiment. Okay, the third experiment. It is based on the third experiment where we have to find out the internal resistance. Okay, so balancing length of a cell is at 240 centimeter. So balancing length of a cell. So which cell? So let me draw the circuit here first. So if you remember, so this was the primary circuit. Okay, this is the primary circuit or the main circuit. Okay, now the balancing length of the cell. So what you are doing, you are connecting it with the cell. Okay, so this is the cell, this is the galvanometer, and this is balancing. This is emitter, by the way, and this is rheostat, this is battery eliminator, and this is EMF E. Okay, now on shunting the cell, wherever you see the shunting, that means you connect a resistor in parallel. Okay, on shunting the cell with the resistance 2 ohms, okay, of 2 ohms, the balancing becomes 120. Okay, now when you had not connected this cell, so this length was 240. This length was 240 centimeter. Okay, as soon as you connect it with the resistor of 2 ohm, okay, what happens? This becomes here. Now this length becomes 120 centimeter. Okay, so if you see, so what I can say now, okay, that R will be equal to capital R L1 minus L2 divided by L2. Okay, so R, capital R is 2, L1 is 240, okay, minus 120 divided by 1. Okay, so R value will now become as 2. So the internal resistance of the cell is 2 ohms. Internal resistance of the cell is 2 ohms now. Okay, I hope you understood this sum also. Okay, Now, after this, I have few numericals. Okay, I have this numerical, and there are few more numericals that I'll be giving you as a homework. Okay, so this is two questions. These are on KVL. Okay, sixth and seventh numericals are on KVL. Eighth and ninth are on meter bridge. Okay, this 10th problem is on meter and this potentiometer. Again, here you have to find out the internal resistance of the cell. Okay, and one more problem is here, fifth. Okay, so this is based on the general concept. This is not on any experiment, but it is based on the general concept. Okay, so 6 questions I'll be giving as the homework. Okay, those questions I'll put on your screen afterwards. Okay, now one small topic is there. Let us see that. Okay, a small topic is there. Let us see that topic now. Okay, now we are going to see, okay, just a small topic, and then this chapter will be finished. Okay, so all of us use electricity. Okay, all of us use electricity, and we know that it is a power. Okay, it is a power. Now we get heat from it. Okay, we get heat from it. Okay, and there are so many appliances, that make use of thermal energy that you get from the electricity, and you make use of that. So like, suppose you are charging your phone. So what happens, or you are using your phone, so what happens over the time? What will happen? The mobile, the anything that electrical appliance gets heated up. It gets heated up. So that is a heat energy produced. So how much amount of energy is produced, why it is produced, all those things we are going to see now. Okay, all those things we are going to see now. Okay, so we'll start that now. So electrical energy and power. So this is the last topic. Okay, electrical energy and power. Okay. Now, suppose if I'm having a conductor with me. Suppose if I have a conductor with me, and this conductor, okay, there is a current flowing through it. Okay, there is a current flowing through it. Okay, across its cross section, what is happening? The current is flowing through it. Okay, so this is suppose A, this is B, and the current flows in this direction. Okay, the current flows in this direction. I current flows in this direction. If I current is flowing in this direction, so definitely I can say the potential of point A and the potential of point B, which one will be higher and which one will be smaller, I can say now. Okay, so I can say that the potential of the point A is higher and potential of point B is low. Okay, then only the current is moving from A to B. So what I can write here, VA will be greater than VB, then only the current is flowing from A side to B. There is no doubt about that. Okay, there is no doubt about that. Okay, and when you calculate, okay, so when you calculate the potential difference between point A and B, okay, so what I can write here, okay, since current moves from A to B, since current moves from A to B, okay, VA minus VB, okay, is equals to V. Suppose if I take the potential difference, so this difference will be definitely greater than 0. Okay, this is greater than 0 because A point will have higher potential than B, then only current is flowing from A to B. Understood? Now, If I want to write down the potential energy of the charge at A and B, okay? If I'm want to write potential energy, okay, of charge. If I want to write the potential energy of the charge now, okay, potential energy of the charge at A, if I write at A, what you will be writing now? Just see. Will you write it as Q into potential of A? Yes, Q into potential of A. This is the potential energy of charge at A point. Similarly at B, what you will write? Q into VB. Charge into potential of the point B. Charge into potential of the point B. So these are the potential energies. Okay, these are the potential energies of the charges at point A and B. Now what you have to calculate? You have to calculate the change in potential energy. Change in potential energy. Okay. Change in potential energy. Potential energy. Okay, which is delta U. Delta U. So you'll be writing it as final. Okay, final potential energy. Final potential energy minus initial potential energy. Now, final potential energy is what? Q into VB minus initial potential energy is what? Q into VA. Now, Q value I can take outside. Okay, and then I can write VB minus VA. Now, just now we saw here. See, if you can see here. So VA minus VB is greater than 0. VA minus VB is greater than 0. So VB minus VA will be smaller than 0. So this value, whatever you will get this value. So I will write it as Q into delta V. Okay, this will not be a positive, this will be a negative sign. Okay, you will get in a negative sign. Okay, now as we know that the charge Q I can write as I into T. Okay, I into T. So I can write this as minus I, okay, V into delta T. Okay, where delta T is the change in time. And sorry, this delta, this is I have taken as V, na? Here I have taken as V. So I'll take it as V only. V. Delta T is the time, okay, in which I current is flowing. Okay, in which I current is flowing. So that's delta T. Okay, so this is change in potential energy. This is change in potential energy. Okay, so this you have to see, and let us assume this is my equation number 1. So by now what we have done, we have calculated, or we have found out the value of potential of point A. Okay, and we have found out the potential of point B. Now because the current was flowing from A to B, VA will be greater and VB will be smaller. That is very obvious thing. And then if you take the difference, potential difference, okay, so it should be always higher. Potential difference you are calculating, and difference will be always positive. So VA minus VB is a greater value, okay, than 0. But if you are calculating the change, so change will be always written as final minus initial. So I'm trying to find out the change in potential energy of the charge. Okay, change in the potential energy of the charge. So potential energy at point A is what? Q into VA, where Q is the charge flowing, So Q value I can write as, okay, Q value, Q by delta T I can write as I. Okay, this I guess everybody knows. Okay, charge flowing per unit time is I. So now this way we have calculated the change in potential energy. Now, if this is a change in potential energy, okay, so this is only responsible for the kinetic energy change. This is only responsible for the change in kinetic energy. Okay, now just try to understand one thing. that if you are having a conductor like this, if you had a conductor like this, okay, and charges are moving in this direction, charges are moving in opposite direction, the electrons will move in this direction, positive charges will move along the direction of the current. Okay, now this side will the electric field will be in this direction. Okay, electric field will be in this direction, and positive charge, if I assume, so it will move in this direction. So it will have a force, a greater force in this direction. So it will have a velocity, higher velocity in that direction of the current. So what I can say, that final kinetic energy, okay, what I can say, that final kinetic energy, okay, will be greater than, final kinetic energy will be greater than initial kinetic energy, because potential energy is decreasing, because potential energy is changing. What will happen, the because the potential energy of the point B is less as compared to A, okay, as compared to A, the potential energy of the point B is less, so the energy is decreasing. And since the energy conservation is applied, so the kinetic energy must be increasing at point B. Okay, so I can say kinetic energy of the final point at B must be greater than the initial point. Okay, so what I can write now is, I can write delta K. I can write delta K, which is change in kinetic energy, is equals to minus delta U potential. Just try to understand that total energy will be constant. Total energy will be constant. So total energy will be same here as well as here. Now from here to here, if potential energy is decreasing, so this implies kinetic energy must be increasing, because energy has to be constant. So if potential energy is decreasing, kinetic energy has to increase. So that's why I can write that. Okay, that's why I have written that thing. Okay, so you should understand all these things. So now what is delta U value? It is minus IV delta T. Okay, it becomes IV delta T now. Okay, delta K. So this is kinetic energy. Now this is actually the amount of energy dissipated. Okay, this is actually the amount of energy dissipated. How I'm saying energy dissipated? Because of the collisions. Okay, because of the collisions within the delta T time, what will happen? There will be a collision, and due to that collision, some energy will be released. Some energy will be released. So I can equate this as delta W. Okay, is equals to IV delta T. Okay, now energy dissipated per unit time. So this is energy dissipated. Okay, this is energy dissipated, total energy dissipated, total energy dissipated in delta T. Okay, so now if I find out total energy dissipated in unit time, okay, in unit time, so what I'll be writing, delta W by delta T. So what you will be having, I into V. And what is W by T, or energy per unit time? That is power. That is power. Okay, so that is power. So this is also a very important equation. This is also a very important equation. So this was first equation. Okay, this is our second and third equation. This is our second equation. This is our third equation, and suppose this is our fourth equation. Okay, so P value is now V into I. V into I. Okay, so this is total energy dissipated per unit time. Now using Ohm's law, okay, using Ohm's law, okay, what I can say, V is equals to IR. So I can substitute V value here, and then I will get P as I square into R. P as I square into R. Okay, so I can also write it as V square by R. I can also write it as V square by R. If I substitute I value, so I'll be writing V by R. Okay. So once you substitute V, once you substitute I, you will get these two values. Okay. So this is also a very important value. This is also a very important equation. So this is our fifth equation. So this is our fifth equation. Okay. Understood. Now, so this was all about the derivation of this formula or this concept you have already studied in the junior class. Class 10th, you have already seen all these things. Okay. All these things you have seen in the class 10th. Okay. Now, what we are going to do now is we are going to see for the maximum power supplied. Okay. Or maximum thermal energy dissipated. Okay. Maximum power supplied or maximum thermal energy dissipated. So equation for that and conditions we are going to derive. So now we are going to derive the condition for maximum power supplied. Maximum power supplied. Okay, maximum power supplied. Okay. So I'm just taking an example. Okay, I'm just taking an example. Okay. So let us assume that this is a motor. Okay. This is some motor. Okay, whose coil has a resistance R. So this is any device which is having a resistance R. Okay, now you are connecting it with a battery. Now you are connecting it with a battery V, and I current is flowing. I current is flowing. Okay, so power supplied by the battery. Okay, power supplied by the source. What will you write? Power supplied. Okay, so power supplied. So power supplied P will be written as V into I. This is the power supplied. Now, if you write heat dissipated or power dissipated, heat dissipated, okay, or power dissipated, anything you can write, heat dissipated or power dissipated. So actually this power dissipation must be less than, okay, power supplied. Okay, power dissipated must be less than power supplied. Okay, they must not be equal, otherwise this motor will not be able to do the mechanical work. Okay, so power dissipated. So suppose this battery is giving 10 joule. Okay, this battery is giving 10 joule. So 1 or 2 joule this motor is dissipating as of heat. Okay, so this is what happens. So 8 joule was energy it is taking and doing some work. So heat dissipated or power dissipated, I can write it as I square into R. Okay, this is my second equation. Okay, now mechanical power produced. Okay, mechanical power produced. So what is the mechanical power produced now? Okay, so suppose this was the total power. This is suppose 100 unit energy that source gives. This is suppose 20 unit this motor dissipates. So remaining is what? 80. So total mechanical power, okay, that is produced. What it will be? Vi minus I square R. Now maximum for highest value of mechanical power. Okay, when will be this mechanical power highest? So what I will do, I'll just differentiate this with respect to current, because resistance is already constant, V value is already constant. So I will differentiate this with respect to I and I will equate it to 0. So if you do this, so you will be getting it as V minus 2IR is equals to 0. And if you see, so from here I can get it as I value as V by 2R. Okay, V by 2R. So when the current value is this, when the current value is V by 2R, okay, that time you will be having maximum power supplied. So this is a very important result. This is a very important result. Okay, you may have a direct question on this. You may have a direct question on this now. Okay, you may have a direct question on this. Now, if I substitute I value in power dissipation, okay, power dissipated, because you have calculating for the maximum cases, so you can write it as maximum power dissipated. So it will be written as I square into R. So just substitute this I value here itself. Just substitute the I value here only. So you'll be having as V square by 4R square into R. So maximum power dissipated, okay? Maximum power dissipated. Maximum power dissipated will be what? V square by 4R. This is also very important relation, okay? This is also very important relation, okay? I hope you have understood this, okay? So next when we meet, we will start a new chapter, okay? We will start new chapter, and while we are doing that chapter, okay, I'll be giving you few questions at the end of the class. I'll be giving you the question of this chapter, okay? And I'll try that the questions that I have given you, I have not given you the solution still, so I'll give you the solution in the next class on Monday, okay? I'll try my best that all the solution I give you on Monday, okay? So Monday we will start new chapter, moving charges and magnetism. This chapter is finished, and numericals every day 2 to 3 numericals I'll be giving you, so that you will are thorough with the concepts, okay? You don't forget this chapter, okay? So just note down the slides, okay? Just take the screenshots of the slide, okay? I'm putting on your screen. We started from this experiment 3. We started from experiment 3 today. Do it fast. Done. This is the next slide. This is the next slide. Third slide. Fourth slide. Just go through the questions once again, okay, and try to solve them on your own again. This is the first question. Okay, you have to do as a homework. Okay, so this is finished. Okay, so next class we'll start with the this moving charges and magnetism. Okay, and by the time we are doing that chapter every day, I'll be giving you few questions, three questions from current electricity. Okay, thank you.